This is the side of India most travelers never see. Behind the main roads and crowded stations, there are neighborhoods where the city feels almost impossible to breathe in. Homes are packed into narrow lanes. Families live beside landfills, railway tracks, polluted drains, old workshops, and spaces the rest of the city tries not to look at for too long. In these neighborhoods, the city does not feel polished or distant. It feels close, crowded, and difficult to ignore. People build their lives in places most outsiders pass by too quickly. Some live beside the things the city throws away. Some grow up with trains shaking the ground just outside their homes. Some work in rooms so small that the same space has to hold sleep, food, family, and income. But this journey is not about turning hardship into a spectacle. It is about looking at the parts of urban India that are usually pushed out of sight, even though they are deeply connected to how the city survives. Behind the clean streets, the markets, the services, and the fast growth, there are people doing the quiet work that keeps everything moving. And once you see that, the question changes. It is no longer just, how do people survive here? It becomes, why do so many cities depend on people they still leave at the edge? Today, we are going inside some of India's most intense urban communities, not to judge them from a distance, but to understand what life feels like when space is limited, pressure is constant, and survival becomes part of the daily rhythm. Stay with this journey until the end, because once you see these places up close, it becomes much harder to look at a city the same way again. One, Balswa slum, Delhi. The first place we enter is Balswa, on the northern edge of Delhi, a community living under the shadow of one of the city's largest landfill sites. Before you even notice the homes, you notice the mountain. Balswa landfill rises above the settlement like a huge wall of discarded life. Plastic bags, food waste, old clothes, broken furniture, metal scraps, and everything the city no longer wants to see. The air here feels heavy. Dust lifts from the ground as trucks move in and out. On hot days, the smell becomes almost impossible to ignore. Rotting waste, diesel, smoke, damp soil, and burnt plastic mixing together under the Delhi heat. But Balswa is not only a place of waste, it is also a place where people live. At the base of the landfill, narrow lanes run between small homes made from brick, tin, tarpaulin, and recovered materials. Families cook here. Children grow up here. People wash clothes, drink morning tea, go to work, and continue their routines under the shadow of a mountain most of the city would rather forget. For many people around Balswa, waste is also income. Waste pickers search through plastic, metal, cardboard, and anything that can still be sold. But this work comes with danger: smoke, sharp objects, unstable piles, heat, and very little protection. What makes Balswa difficult to look at, honestly, is this. The landfill is not separate from Delhi. It is part of Delhi. Every clean street, market, restaurant, and apartment produces waste. And when that waste leaves one side of the city, it does not disappear. It ends up somewhere else, and someone else has to live beside it. From my perspective, Balswa is disturbing not only because of the garbage mountain, but because of the question it leaves behind. When a city grows, who gets the clean skyline? And who gets the smoke? Who gets to throw things away? And who has to live next to what is thrown away? Balswa is dusty, polluted, overwhelming, and brutally real, but it is also alive. People here are not just surviving beside waste. They are building homes, raising children, working, adapting, and creating a daily life in one of Delhi's most forgotten corners. So let me ask you this. If a local guide offered to take you inside Balswa for one full day, through the narrow lanes and along the edge of the landfill, would you dare to go? Or would this place be too intense to face up close? Tell me honestly in the comments. 2. Railway slums settlements along the tracks. Some of India's most intense urban communities are not hidden behind walls. They sit plain sight, stretched along the railway tracks of cities like Delhi and Kolkata. Here, life happens only a few steps away from moving trains. The first thing you feel is the sound. Before you fully see the settlement, you hear the rails vibrating, the horn cutting through the air, and the deep metallic roar of a train approaching. Then the wind hits. A train rushes past, close enough to shake tin roofs, lift hanging clothes, and make the ground feel alive under your feet. Along these tracks, small homes stand tightly packed beside the railway line. Some are built with tin sheets, tarpaulin, brick, wood, and whatever materials families can hold together. The lanes are narrow. The space between daily life and danger can feel shockingly thin. But for the people living here, the railway is not a dramatic scene. It is the background of everyday life. Children play near the tracks and learn the timing of trains almost by instinct. Families cook beside walls that tremble when a train passes. Laundry flutters in sudden bursts of wind. Tea boils on small stoves. People talk, argue, laugh, and continue their routines, while the sound of the railway rolls through the settlement again and again. The smell here is just as layered as the noise: hot metal, diesel, dust, cooking smoke, chai, fried snacks, damp earth, and sometimes garbage collected along the tracks. In Delhi, railway corridors have also become sites of waste buildup, with cleanup drives targeting garbage along tracks that pass near slums and informal settlements. What makes these railway-side communities so intense is not only the danger, it is the way danger becomes normal. For an outsider, every passing train feels like a warning. But for the people who live here, it becomes part of the rhythm of the day. A horn means move back. A vibration means the train is close. A sudden rush of wind means hold your clothes, your bag, your child, and keep going. From my perspective, this is the most haunting part. The real shock is not simply that people live beside the tracks. It is that they have had to become familiar with something most of us would never accept as normal. When you have no better place to go, even danger can turn into routine. These settlements reveal a side of the city that is easy to ignore from inside a train window. Passengers move through in seconds. They see a flash of rooftops, clotheslines, children, smoke, and narrow lanes. But for the families living there, that passing moment is their entire world. Railway slums are loud, unstable, crowded, and brutally close to danger. But they are also full of life, full of families adapting to impossible conditions, turning the edge of the railway into a place to sleep, cook, work, raise children, and survive. So let me ask you this. If you had to spend one full day inside a railway-side settlement in Delhi or Kolkata, hearing trains rush past only a few steps away, would you be able to handle it? Or would the noise, the danger, and the closeness of everything be too much? Three, Malvani Slum, Malad, Mumbai. It is one of those places where the city feels packed too tightly, homes close together, lanes twisting in every direction, and people trying to build a life in whatever space they can hold on to. The moment you step inside, you feel how little room there is. Houses press close to each other. Small shops spill into the lanes. Clothes hang above your head. Wires cross overhead, and scooters squeeze through spaces that already feel too narrow for walking. At first, it may look chaotic, but if you stay with it for a while, you start to notice its rhythm. People know where to step, when to move, and how to pass through the crowd without stopping everything around them. This is not random disorder. This is how the neighborhood works. One of the roughest parts of Malvani is the polluted waterway running through parts of the settlement. It does not feel like a river. It feels more like a dark drain cutting through daily life. As you get closer, the air changes. The damp smell rises from the water and mixes with smoke from small kitchens, traffic, and the heat trapped between the houses. But Malvani is not only about difficult conditions. It is also about people trying to stay in Mumbai. Many families here came from other parts of India looking for work and a small place in the city. Some leave early for jobs across Mumbai and return late at night. Others sell food, tea, vegetables, or small goods close to home. Children grow up playing in narrow lanes, while adults learn how to keep a household running in rooms that were never meant to hold so much life. What stands out is how much people manage to fit into so little space. A lane can become a playground, a passage, and a small market all in the same day. A rooftop may be the only place to dry clothes or get a little air. Every corner has a use, because unused space is almost a luxury here. To me, Malvani is not just about crowded lanes or rough conditions. It makes you think about how hard it is to claim even a small corner of Mumbai. For many families, this is not a temporary stop. This is the place they fought to keep. It may be cramped, it may be difficult, but it is still home. And that is what stays with you. Life here does not wait for perfect conditions. People cook, work, raise children, repair, sell, argue, laugh, and start again the next morning. Even when the air feels heavy and the space feels almost gone, life keeps moving. So let me ask you this. If a local guide invited you to spend one full day inside Malvani, walking through its narrow lanes, passing the polluted waterway, and seeing how people hold on to life in one of Mumbai's most crowded corners, would you go? Four, Dharavi, Mumbai. Dharavi is one of the first places people think of when they hear about Mumbai's slums. But if you only describe it as a slum, you miss a big part of what makes this place so unusual. Dharavi is crowded, yes. It is intense, yes. But it is also one of Mumbai's busiest working neighborhoods. Inside its narrow lanes, people are not just living. They are producing, repairing, sorting, selling, cooking, stitching, recycling, and trying to keep up with a city that never really slows down. The first thing you notice is how tight everything feels. The lanes pull you in quickly. Houses stand close together, workshops sit beside homes, and daily life spills into the street because there is simply not enough room to keep everything separate. A place to sleep can also be a place to cook. A small room can become a workshop during the day. A rooftop can turn into extra space when the room below is already full. Dharavi is often described as one of the most depopulated areas in the world, with estimates often placing its population around hundreds of thousands to nearly 1 million people in just a few square kilometers. It is also known for its informal economy, with industries like leather, textiles, pottery, food production, and recycling operating inside the neighborhood. But when you walk through a place like this, numbers are not the first thing you feel. You feel the movement. Someone is carrying material through a lane that barely has space for 2 people. A sewing machine starts behind a half-open door. Workers sort plastic in one corner, while someone else is preparing food just a few steps away. The line between home and work is not always clear here. For many families, they exist in the same room, under the same roof, inside the same daily pressure. That is what makes Dharavi different from a simple image of poverty. It is not only a place of shortage, it is also a place of labor. The neighborhood has long been known for small-scale production, from garments and leather goods to recycling and pottery. In recent years, factory owners and workers in Dharavi have also raised concerns about redevelopment plans. Because many people are not only afraid of losing a home, they are afraid of losing the place where they work, earn, and survive. To me, Dharavi is not interesting because it is crowded. Many places are crowded. Dharavi stays in your mind because of how much life and work have been squeezed into such a small area. It makes you think about the hidden labor behind a big city. The bags, the clothes, the recycled plastic, the small goods that may pass through places like this before reaching markets somewhere else. And that is the uncomfortable part. Mumbai depends on places like Dharavi more than many people want to admit. The city may look cleaner and more modern from the outside, but inside neighborhoods like this, people are doing the work that keeps parts of that city moving. Dharavi is noisy, tight, and exhausting to imagine, but it is also skilled, productive, and deeply alive. Every lane seems to carry a different kind of work. Every small room seems to be doing more than it was built to do. And every family here is trying to hold on to space in a city where space itself has become one of the hardest things to afford. Five, Nochikuppam slum, Chennai. Nochikuppam sits near the end of Chennai's Marina Beach, but this is not the calm beach image most people imagine. For the fishing families who live here, the sea is not just a view, it is work, risk, memory, and the center of daily life. The first thing you notice is how close life feels to the water. Boats, fish baskets, small homes, street vendors, and people moving in every direction all seem to share the same narrow space. The neighborhood does not feel separated from the sea. It feels tied to it, almost pulled by it. In Nochikuppam, fishing is not just a job that happens far away from home. It shapes the whole rhythm of the area. Early mornings begin with people preparing for the day, sorting fish, carrying ice boxes, fixing nets, and setting up for sales near the Marina Loop Road area. Reports have described Nochikuppam as a fishing community near Marina Beach, where many families depend on the sea and fish vending for their livelihood. But life here is not as simple as a community by the beach. The coast can be generous, but it can also be brutal. Chennai shoreline has faced tsunamis, floods, cyclones, and storm surges, and Nochikuppam families have lived through that history closely. After the 2004 tsunami, housing and relocation became a major issue for fisher families in the area, and later crises like the 2015 floods and Cyclone Varda also pushed other fishing communities to seek temporary shelter in Nochikuppam. That is what makes this place different from a normal seaside neighborhood. The sea is always present, but not always gentle. When the weather changes, people here do not just watch the sky for beauty. They watch it for warning. A shift in wind, a darker line of cloud, a rougher sea. These things matter when your work, your home, and your safety are all so close to the coast. There is also another kind of pressure here, the pressure of the city. Fish vendors in Nochikuppam have been caught between livelihood and regulation, especially around Marina Loop Road, where authorities have tried to move vendors into designated market spaces, while many still depend on the roadside location for customers. To me, Nochikuppam is not just about poverty or crowded housing. It is about belonging. This is a place where people are tied to the sea, but also pushed by the city around them. They need the shore to work, but the city wants the shore to look cleaner, smoother, more controlled. And that is the hard part. What looks like disorder to an outsider may actually be someone's workplace, someone's family history, someone's right to stay close to the water that feeds them. Nochikuppam feels raw, salty, crowded, and exposed, but it also feels rooted. People here are not simply living near the sea. They are living with it, through good weather, bad weather, city pressure, and the daily fight to keep their place on a coast that keeps changing. So let me ask you this. If you had the chance to spend one full day inside Nochikuppam, walking near the fish stalls, watching the boats, listening to the wind, and seeing how a fishing community lives beside the sea and the city at the same time, would you go? Six, Rajendra Nagar slum, Bengaluru. Rajendra Nagar sits inside Bengaluru, a city many people know for technology, office towers, startups, and the image of modern India. But not far from that version of the city, there are neighborhoods where life looks very different. Rajendra Nagar is one of those places. Here, the city feels less polished and more crowded. The lanes are tight, the homes are packed close, and daily life often spills outside because there is not enough room inside. People cook near doorways, children move through narrow paths, and small shops become part of the street. It is the kind of place where you can feel how much pressure a city puts on the people who keep trying to stay in it. Bengaluru has long been described as India's tech capital, but its growth has also created deep contrasts. Research on Bengaluru's informal settlements points to uneven urban development, insecure housing, limited services, and the way low-income and migrant communities often carry more risk while receiving less support. That contrast is what makes Rajendra Nagar important. It reminds you that a city is not only built by people in glass offices. It is also built by drivers, vendors, construction workers, domestic workers, repair workers, delivery workers, and families living in places most outsiders never visit. The rhythm here is not glamorous, but it is constant. In the morning, people leave for work across Bengaluru. Some head toward construction sites, some toward markets, some toward homes and offices where they clean, cook, drive, carry, fix, or serve. By evening, they return to rooms that may be small, hot, and crowded, but still hold the center of family life. In places like this, heat and poor housing can make daily life even harder. Reports on Bengaluru's informal settlements have shown how cramped, poorly ventilated homes can become unbearable during hot weather, especially when electricity and water are unreliable. For families who cannot simply stay indoors comfortably, even the advice meant to protect people from heat can feel disconnected from reality. But Rajendra Nagar should not be reduced to hardship alone. People here still build routines, relationships, and small forms of stability. A narrow lane becomes a meeting point. A shop becomes a place for news and gossip. A rooftop becomes a little extra space when the room below feels too full. Even when the city gives very little room, people find ways to stretch life around it. To me, Rajendra Nagar is about the part of Bengaluru that rarely gets placed next to the city's success story. Everyone talks about the tech boom, the startups, the modern skyline. But behind that image are neighborhoods where people live close to the edge, doing the work that helps the city function while still fighting for space, comfort, and security. And that is the question this place leaves behind. When a city grows fast, who gets to enjoy that growth? And who only feels the pressure of it? Rajendra Nagar is crowded, tiring, and easy to overlook from the outside. But it is also full of people trying to hold their place in a city that keeps expanding around them. It is not the Bengaluru people put on postcards, but it is part of the real Bengaluru. 7. DJ Halli, the other side of Bengaluru. DJ Halli, short for Devara Jivana Halli, sits in North Bengaluru. It is often described as one of the city's largest slum areas, but that label alone does not really explain the place. DJ Halli is dense, loud, and complicated, a neighborhood where Bengaluru's glossy image feels very far away. The first thing you notice is how close life feels. The lanes are narrow, homes sit tightly against each other, and the street is never just a street. It becomes a place to talk, work, sell, cook, repair, wait, and watch the day go by. People do not move through DJ Halli like visitors. They move through it with the kind of confidence that only comes from knowing every turn, every shortcut, and every difficult corner. DJ Halli is not far from central parts of Bengaluru, but it feels like a different version of the city. Bengaluru is known for tech parks, startups, and office towers. Here, the city is more immediate. It is in the small shops, the crowded homes, the shared spaces, and the daily effort of people trying to keep things moving with very little room. A study of Devara Jivana Halli described it as a large notified slum in Bangalore and looked at health issues among its residents, pointing to the kind of everyday challenges that can come with dense housing and limited urban services. The Karnataka Slum Development Board also records hundreds of slum areas in Bangalore city, which shows that places like DJ Halli are not isolated exceptions. They are part of how the city has grown. But DJ Halli should not be reduced to statistics or hardship. If you walk through it, what stays with you is the energy. A small shop becomes a meeting point. A doorway turns into a place for conversation. Children find space to play, even when the lane looks too crowded. Families keep adjusting their routines around heat, noise, water, work, and the simple problem of not having enough space. What makes DJ Halli stand out is its strong local identity. It does not feel like a place waiting to be explained by outsiders. It has its own rhythm, its own tensions, its own pride, and its own way of carrying on. That can be easy to misunderstand. From outside, a place like this may look messy or overwhelming, but inside, there is a system people understand because they live it every day. To me, DJ Halli is important because it shows the part of Bengaluru that rarely fits into the city's success story. People talk about India's tech capital as if the whole city is made of glass buildings and new money. But DJ Halli reminds you that another Bengaluru exists at the same time, one where people are fighting for space, stability, services, and dignity. And that is the part that makes this neighborhood worth looking at carefully. Not as a place to judge from a distance, and not as a place to turn into cheap drama, but as a reminder that every fast-growing city has neighborhoods carrying more weight than they are given credit for. DJ Halli is crowded, noisy, and rough around the edges, but it is also full of people who know how to survive inside pressure. People wake up, work, argue, laugh, raise children, run small businesses, and start over again the next day. It may not be the Bengaluru shown in travel ads, but it is part of the real city. Eight, Basanti Colony, Kolkata's overlooked slum. Basanti Colony sits near Ultadanga railway station in Kolkata, and it is often described as one of the city's biggest slum settlements. It is not the kind of place most visitors would ever pass through slowly. From a train window or a busy road, it may only appear for a moment, a stretch of crowded homes, narrow lanes, and people moving through another long day. But inside, life is much more layered than that. The first thing you feel is how close everything is. Homes stand tight against each other, and the lanes do not give people much space to move. A doorway can become a place to sit. A small corner can turn into a workspace. The street becomes part of the house because, in a place this crowded, life cannot stay hidden indoors. Kolkata slums are not all the same. Some are long-established busties, while others are more insecure settlements near railways, canals, low-lying land, or other difficult spaces. Research on Kolkata's slum environment has noted that the city has a large slum population with many registered and unregistered settlements spread across the municipal area. Basanti Colony carries that feeling of a place that has been lived in for a long time. People know the rhythm of the lanes. They know where the water comes from, where the crowd slows down, where the small shops open, and how to keep a household moving when the space is never enough. In the morning, some people leave for daily work. Others stay close, running small stalls, doing repair jobs, preparing food, or handling whatever work the day brings. What makes this place heavy is not only poverty. It is the pressure of being poor inside a city that still demands paperwork, proof, rent, transport, food, school, and daily income. In 2025, reports from Basanti Colony described residents struggling to manage official enrollment and documentation while still needing to earn their daily livelihood. For many families, missing a day of work is not a small problem. It can mean missing food, rent, or the next necessary payment. That is the part outsiders often do not see. Life in a place like Basanti Colony is not only about crowded rooms or old walls. It is also about constantly proving that you belong somewhere. You may live in the city for years, work in the city, raise children in the city, and still have to fight for documents that decide whether the system can even see you. To me, Basanti Colony is not the kind of place that needs dramatic language to feel serious. Its weight is quieter. It is in the daily balancing act, earning money, keeping papers safe, sending children to school, dealing with heat, crowding, and uncertainty, then waking up and doing it again. And maybe that is what makes it stay in your mind. Not one shocking image, but the feeling of a community trying to hold itself together in a city that often moves too fast to notice who is being left behind. Basanti Colony is crowded, worn down, and easy to overlook from outside. But it is also full of routines, work, families, and people trying to keep their place in Kolkata. It is not the city from the postcards, but it is part of the city's real life. Nine, Kusumpur Pahari and Munirka, two Delhis side by side. Kusumpur Pahari sits near Vasant Vihar, one of Delhi's more comfortable and affluent areas. Munirka, not far away, is known as an urban village, a place that has been swallowed by the city but still keeps its own dense, older shape. Together, these places show one of Delhi's sharpest contrasts. The people who help keep the planned city running often live right beside it, but in a very different reality. Kusumpur Pahari is a notified slum on land owned by the Delhi Development Authority, located in the Vasant Vihar area. Reports have described it as a dense settlement spread over a small area, with many residents working in informal jobs such as construction, sanitation, housekeeping, security, and driving. The first thing you feel in a place like this is the closeness. The lanes climb and turn, homes press into each other, and the space between one family's doorway and another person's path can be almost nothing. People have learned to live vertically, sideways, and around every corner the city leaves open. What makes Kusumpur Pahari so striking is what sits beside it. A narrow walkway can separate the settlement from Vasant Vihar, where many residents work as cooks, maids, drivers, guards, or in small service jobs nearby. That distance is small on a map, but in daily life, it can feel like two different cities. Munirka adds another layer to that story. It is not the same kind of settlement as Kusumpur Pahari. Munirka is an urban village, one of those older village areas that became surrounded by the expanding city. Research on urban villages describes them as former rural settlements absorbed into formal urban areas, often becoming dense, mixed-use neighborhoods with their own informal logic. So the feeling changes, but the pressure remains. In Munirka, buildings crowd close, rooms are rented out, shops sit below homes, and students, workers, migrants, and longtime residents share the same compressed space. It is not polished Delhi. It is Delhi being stretched, rented, divided, rebuilt, and used every day by people who need the city but cannot always afford the city's cleaner version. That is the real link between Kusumpur Pahari and Munirka. They are different places, but both show how Delhi grows around inequality. One side has planned roads, gated homes, offices, markets, and cars. The other side has people climbing narrow lanes, waiting for water, paying rent for small rooms, and leaving early work in the very parts of the city that look more comfortable. To me, this part of Delhi is not powerful because it looks dramatic. It is powerful because the contrast is so close. You do not have to travel far to see it. Sometimes, you only have to turn a corner. The person cleaning a home, driving a car, guarding a gate, or delivering food may return at night to a neighborhood where space, water, and security are still daily struggles. And that leaves a hard question. When a city depends on people's labor, what does it give back to the people doing that labor? A job is not the same as stability. Being close to wealth is not the same as sharing in it. Kusumpur Pahari and Munirka show Delhi without the filter. Not just the capital city of wide roads and powerful addresses, but the city of people living in the gaps, adjusting to pressure, and making life work beside places that often pretend not to see them. 10. Seelampur, Delhi, inside the e-waste maze. Seelampur sits in East Delhi, and for many people outside the city, the name may not mean much. But inside Delhi's informal economy, Seelampur has a very different reputation. It is widely known as one of India's biggest informal e-waste markets, a place where old electronics come to be broken down, sorted, repaired, stripped, and sold again. The first thing you feel here is how busy the place is. The lanes are tight, the shops sit close together, and work seems to push out from every doorway. It is not the kind of work that happens quietly behind factory walls. It happens in small rooms on the edges of streets, beside piles of old wires, broken screens, circuit boards, chargers, computer parts, and pieces of machines that once belonged to someone else. But Seelampur is not just a place where things are thrown away. That is too simple. In many ways, it is where discarded technology gets a second life. A phone that stopped working somewhere else may be opened here. A laptop part may be removed, tested, repaired, or sold. Wires are separated. Boards are checked. Plastic, metal, and tiny valuable pieces are pulled apart by hand. This work helps feed Delhi's repair culture, where old electronics can be turned into cheaper parts, refurbished devices, or affordable repairs for people who cannot always buy something new. Still, the work comes with a cost. Studies and reports on Seelampur's informal e-waste workers describe difficult conditions with long hours, low security, and exposure to unsafe materials. Many workers handle electronics without the kind of protection that would be expected in a formal recycling plant. That is what makes Seelampur hard to judge from the outside. On one side, it is part of a dirty and dangerous system. On the other side, it is also a livelihood for thousands of people. It keeps useful materials moving. It gives old electronics another chance. It supports repair shops, small traders, and families who depend on this work every single day. To me, Seelampur is not just about waste. It is about the hidden afterlife of the things we use. A phone, a charger, a laptop, a screen. Once we are done with them, we rarely think about where they go. But they do not vanish. They travel into places like this, where someone else has to open them, breathe around them, sort them, and turn them back into value. And that is the uncomfortable part. The modern world loves new technology, but it does not like looking at the people who handle the old technology left behind. Sealampur is crowded, rough, and full of pressure, but it is also skilled. People here know how to read the inside of a machine, how to find value in what others call junk, and how to survive inside a system that depends on them, but rarely protects them. Conclusion. After seeing these places, it becomes harder to look at a city only through its clean streets, tall buildings, and famous landmarks. Because behind every fast-growing city, there are always corners most people never slow down to notice. Narrow lanes where families live too close together, small rooms that become both homes and workplaces, polluted water, heavy air, unfinished walls, and people trying to build a life in places the city often forgets. What stays with me is not just the poverty or the crowding, it is the way life keeps going inside all of that pressure. People wake up, cook, work, sell, repair, raise children, wait for water, protect their homes, and start again the next morning. Not because the conditions are fair, not because the city has made life easy for them, but because life does not stop just because a place is difficult. And that is what makes these communities worth looking at carefully. They are not just shocking images. They are not just background scenery for a documentary. They are real neighborhoods filled with families, workers, routines, memories, and people trying to hold on to a place in cities that keep growing around them. From my perspective, the deeper question is not whether we would dare to walk through these places. The deeper question is whether we can look at them without turning them into spectacle. Can we see the people here as human beings, not just as poverty, danger, or chaos? Because if we want to understand a city, we cannot only look at the parts it proudly shows to the world. We also have to look at the parts it hides, ignores, or pushes to the edge. These places may not be comfortable. They may not be beautiful in the usual travel video way, but they are real. And sometimes, the realest parts of a city are the ones people pass by without ever truly seeing. So now I want to hear from you. What stayed with you the most from this journey? Was it the way people keep working, surviving, and building life in such difficult spaces? Or did this show you a side of India's cities you had never thought about before? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. And if this journey made you see the world a little differently, support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. There are still many hidden corners, difficult truths, and human stories waiting to be explored. Until the next journey, stay curious, stay open, and keep looking beyond the surface.